Good morning, everyone. My name is Sinan Abdulhak, and we are so excited to present our research and prototype demo of a-maze, a unified GUI for FMDS.
And for the past 6 months, we have been tackling the problem of how the current TFMS has 20 plus interfaces and it creates a tedious AFP workflow for the current NTMSs.
Now, we conducted a lot of interviews, and although we didn't get a single job offer, we did get rich user feedback from FAA and industry stakeholders. We connected deeply with traffic managers like Jen Ross to understand their needs, how they collaborate with colleagues, and pain points with the current interface. And we didn't stop there. We vetted our design concepts with NASA, which included human factors engineers and former ATD2 analytics leads.
Our user research shows TFMS consists of over 20 interfaces. This large quantity adds clutter and creates confusion for NTMS. And every time users jump between applications is an opportunity for error or distraction. To create an interface to replicate the AFP workflow, our team had to really understand how NTMS work with AFPs.
In order to close the gap between the current state and the future state, we're going to introduce our product, a-maze.
Let's talk about a-maze, our interactive user-centered GUI concept for FMDS. It unifies vital traffic management tools under one interface and streamlines the AFP workflow for NTMSs. With user needs driving every design decision, we've developed an interface to address the pain points of traffic managers, minimize user training, and strengthen collaborative decision-making, or CDM. Our user interviews allowed us to really understand traffic managers and their AFP workflow. And from that, we designed 3 core functionalities that together create an enhanced yet familiar AFP workflow tailored to NTMSs. Let's take a closer look at these 3 core functionalities, starting with evaluating. We learned from Jen Ross, a former command center traffic manager, that severe weather plays a key role in determining AFP need. So we've included a playback feature that allows you to see how NAS constraints, including weather, are changing over time with customizable forecast durations. A data card summarizes how AFP proposals will impact flights. Users can take advantage of our multi-FSM plot view to quickly launch up to 8 FSM graphs at once.
Another feature that we decided to incorporate into FMDS is the collaboration tool. Rather than having the NTMS navigate themselves across different collaboration platforms, they can easily share information with other personnel and facilities without having their own workflow being interrupted.
Dashboard provides concise NAS updates in one place. Dashboard also allows NTMS to prepare for their day. On the right, a schedule depicts upcoming meetings. Using the global navigation bar, let's access our map view and we'll search for the Jacksonville constraint summary. All constraints affecting ZGX are neatly summarized, where users can select a checkbox to view the airway closures due to that constraint. On the left, you'll see our layers tool. Let's select weather, rocket launches, and military airspaces. And now we can see these are overlaid on the map. Perfect.
Hey, Tyler, that weather does not look good at all. We should probably tell someone about. It looks like someone beat me to it. We've just received a chat message from the Jacksonville thread alerting us of that weather in the southeast. Let's click on this chat message to be taken to the thread where the conversation is unfolding. All right, so looking at that weather and that rocket launch, I'm feeling the pit in my stomach. I think we're going to need to model an AFP. But before we do that, let's clean up our workspace by hitting remove card, going back to the left monitor, and switching over to modeling. In modeling, we have all the tools at our fingertips needed to find the right solution to that demand capacity imbalance. Let's input our rates, starting with a 79 rate and other model parameters, and hit add proposed AFP. Immediately, we get a data card summarizing how our AFP proposal will impact flights, and that red text there tells us that we haven't addressed the demand capacity imbalance. Now, what if we wanted to tinker on our baseline proposal? Let's change the rate from 79 to 94 and hit add proposed AFP. Right away, we get an updated data card for this revised proposal, and the green text tells us that we've addressed the demand capacity imbalance. Let's go to the right monitor, and we see that we get another data card for that revised proposal, and we notice that it has a blue outline, which tells us that this data card is selected. Now, when a data card is selected, you can do a couple things. First, you can pair the proposal with another TMI, or share it via our built-in collaboration feature. Kate, tell us more about the collaboration feature.
Let's share this data card into the ZJX channel. And let's say the user wants to schedule a meeting to talk about this data card. They can do so easily by clicking on the schedule meeting button here, and the user can send the meeting into the ZJX channel. People can easily join calls by clicking on the join call button here, mute themselves or unmute themselves, share their screen if they have to, or exit their call.
Thanks, Kate. It looks like this AFP proposal will work. So we have two options for implementation. First, we can schedule the AFP to be implemented for a later time, or we can implement it immediately with that green button. We've created a multi-FSM plot view functionality, which allows you to quickly launch up to 8 FSM graphs at once. Once we're happy with our selection, let's hit View Plots. Switching over to the right monitor, we see all 6 plots displayed. Now let's talk about some of the different viewing modes. Currently shown as default mode, but we also have theater mode, which enlarges one FSM graph while keeping others in view for a quick comparison. And we can also full screen a graph to view 18 hours of data simultaneously. That wraps up our interactive demo. It's back over to you, Tyler.
In our user test with Ralph Tamburo, he found our multi-FSM plot view to be definitely valuable, especially in the command center. In our user test with Bill Tuck and Jason Conley from Delta's OCC, they mentioned how intuitive our interface is thanks to the use of familiar icons. Our user test also uncovered usability improvements we've since incorporated into Amaze. Ralph Tamburo suggested adding an undo feature to our drawing tool and allowing NTMS to access our full screen mode using the viewing mode drop-down menu.
This is an exciting time for the FAA. In combination with FMDS, Amaze represents an opportunity to drastically improve the experience for NTMSs working with AFPs, with the potential to influence the design of other traffic management interfaces. We're overwhelmed with feedback from delighted traffic managers like Ralph and enthusiasm from Bill and Jason of Delta Airlines, and we know that's just the start. Thank you.
We'll go to our judging panel first for our questions.
I noticed that you only had the AFP going one directional. Are you able to do multiple directional?
Just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, are you asking about AFP, the direction right here? Yes. So the interaction for this one is you have arrows kind of going in the different directions. And then when it's dark or you see it in that black color, that's the direction that's selected. And actually in this example, we have the north, northeast, and northwest selected.
Evaluating mode and a modeling mode, right? So what I didn't quite catch, what are the differences and the importance of those modes?
We learned from our user interviews that this is how NTMSs kind of flow through the day of working with AFPs. So they begin by establishing the need for an AFP. So that's looking at those NAS constraints. That's what the evaluating core functionality is. After that need for the AFP has been established, they can move on to that monitoring, the modeling core functionality. And that's where they model the AFP. They find the right solution.
So the functions that are available in each are a little bit different?
Exactly. And it's tailored to kind of which phase of the process that they're in.
Okay, thank you.
You showed an example of where a traffic manager gets interrupted because an alert came in. How are you handling that interrupted thought of the TMC?
Kind of the last piece of your question, I think, is getting at kind of notification fatigue. So the way we target that is by default, our chat threads are muted. And so all the user will see is just a red circle with a notification of the number of new messages. If users choose, they can emphasize, exactly just like that right there. And then if users choose, they can emphasize certain threads. So in this case, we had the Jacksonville thread emphasized. That's why we received that chat message there.
And having these all in one place, different TMIs can impact what you're doing in different ways. So this was, I jotted it down. This is great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, when we were speaking with Jen, we were just amazed at how her brain is able to process so much different information. And so the challenge for us as a team was, how do we simplify that and condense that to give you kind of the TLDR?
Then looking at the NTML itself, the visual looked kind of sparse. So could you elaborate more on the concept or how you envision that piece?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the question. So let's start with what the users said. So during our conversations with Ralph, he was a former STMC in N90. One of the things he mentioned about NTML is that it can be really overwhelming to kind of log all this information. So our challenge as a team was, how do we take as much of the logging burden off of the user as possible? That's where the automation comes in. And we see. So first of all, with the current information that's shown, that's kind of showing you the low-hanging fruit of what can be automated easily, which is all of the parameters you're putting in when you're modeling the AFP, the rate, the start time, the altitude, etc. And so all of that will be pushed to NTML and kind of help ease the burden off of there.
There is quite a bit to be said about taking the load off with logging itself, but also making that information accessible when it's needed for. So yeah, I think that answers the question thoroughly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just one last thing to kind of related to NTML, something that's really valuable in post-event review is being able to quickly retrieve data from, maybe similar events or whatnot. Now that's really difficult if you have only free text logging, or if you're primarily, relying on free text logging. That's because there's about 50 different ways to describe weather, right? You could say convective weather, WX, scary clouds, right? And so I think one of kind of the things our team was exploring is, can we create a closed set of kind of rationale for why this event occurred? And by doing that, you're able to kind of index your data much more easily. And now when you search for, now everyone's speaking the same language, because when I search for weather, I do get everything, all of the logs related to weather. I don't have to search for WX or, any other way to describe severe weather.
And then I was just also wondering, as a user, would I have the ability to add labels to like each of those icons? Or
In our user tests, so we tested with like people that have used TFMS for a very long time, and when they were like navigating across our application, they didn't seem to have a lot of problem identifying the icons. But I definitely understand what you're trying to say.
And thank you, University of Michigan at Ann Arbor team.